If this message found you today, don't dismiss it too quickly, because there is a reason your attention was drawn here at this exact moment. Somewhere recently, your soulmate came face to face with a truth they never expected to uncover, and it has left them questioning everything they thought they understood about why you walked away. They always believed they already had the answer. In their mind, the story had been finished long ago, neatly explained by the assumptions they carried and the conclusions they had accepted. They stopped searching because they were convinced there was nothing left to discover. But sometimes life waits until the heart is ready before revealing the one piece that changes the entire picture. Listen closely, because this is where everything begins to unfold. Without warning, something caused them to revisit the past from a completely different perspective. It wasn't a dramatic confrontation or an unexpected message that changed everything. It was one quiet realization that connected moments they had never thought belonged together. Suddenly, memories they had ignored began returning with incredible clarity. Conversations that once seemed ordinary now carried hidden meaning. The silence you left behind no longer felt empty. It felt like it had been protecting a story they had never taken the time to understand. The more they reflected, the more one unsettling thought refused to leave their mind. What if your decision to walk away was never about giving up? What if it came from a place they had completely failed to recognize? That single question has become impossible for them to silence. Every answer they once trusted now feels incomplete. Every certainty has begun giving way to deeper reflection. They are realizing that people often judge the ending of a story without ever understanding the invisible chapters that came before it. What they recently discovered has forced them to see your journey through different eyes, and with every passing day, that new perspective grows stronger. They can no longer convince themselves that they understood your heart as completely as they once believed. Instead, they are beginning to recognize that behind your silence were emotions left unspoken, difficult choices left unseen, and burdens that were never obvious to anyone looking from the outside. This realization has shaken something deep within them, because it has revealed not only a hidden truth about you, but also a hidden truth about themselves. They now understand that certainty is not always the same as understanding, and assumptions can quietly become walls that prevent people from seeing what has been there all along. Ever since this realization reached them, one thought continues echoing through their heart. If they misunderstood the reason you walked away, what else about this connection have they never truly seen? That question has become the beginning of a journey they never expected to take. And before this message is over, you will understand why nothing about the way they see you will ever be the same again. From the moment your soulmate accepted that they may have misunderstood the reason you walked away, they found themselves noticing something they had never paid attention to before. Listen carefully, because this wasn't simply about remembering the past. It was about discovering the hidden meaning that had always been living beneath it. Instead of asking why everything ended, they began asking what your heart might have been trying to protect. That single change in perspective opened a door they didn't even know existed. They stopped looking at your absence as one isolated event and started seeing it as the result of countless quiet moments they had overlooked. Suddenly, they remembered the times when your smile seemed genuine, yet your eyes carried a quiet heaviness that words never explained. They recalled moments when you seemed distant, not because you lacked feelings, but because something inside you appeared to be carrying a weight no one else could see. At the time, those moments seemed ordinary. Now they feel like pieces of a message that was never fully understood. The more they reflected, the more they realized that your silence had never been empty. It had been filled with emotions that remained hidden beneath the surface. They began recognizing that not everyone walks away because they stop caring. Sometimes people step back because they are carrying responsibilities they cannot explain, fears they cannot easily express, or struggles they don't want someone else to carry alongside them. That realization changed everything. For the first time, They stopped viewing your decision through the lens of loss and started viewing it through the lens of compassion. They asked themselves questions they had never considered before. What if leaving required more strength than staying? What if your silence was an act of protection rather than rejection? What if the distance between you wasn't created by a lack of love, but by circumstances your heart believed it had to face alone? Those questions refused to leave them because deep inside they sensed that the answers were leading them closer to the truth than anything they had believed before. As these thoughts continued unfolding, they began noticing another unexpected change. The emotions they once associated with disappointment slowly transformed into admiration. They admired the strength it must have taken to carry difficult decisions without demanding understanding from anyone else. They admired the courage required to continue moving forward while holding emotions that remained invisible to the people around you. They realized that true strength is often quiet. It doesn't announce itself or seek recognition. It simply endures. That understanding gave them a completely different appreciation for everything they had once misunderstood. They no longer judged your actions by what was visible. Instead, they searched for the unseen reasons that might have shaped those actions. This deeper reflection also changed the way they viewed themselves. They realized how often people rush to explain another person's choices without knowing the battles taking place behind closed doors. They understood that assumptions can feel convincing simply because they are easy, while genuine understanding requires patience, humility, and the willingness to admit that we don't always know the whole story. That lesson has become one of the most meaningful discoveries of their life. It has softened their heart in ways they never expected. They no longer feel the need to force simple explanations onto complicated experiences. Instead, they have learned to leave room for grace, knowing that every person carries chapters that are rarely visible to the outside world. As each day passes, this new understanding continues growing stronger. They no longer replay your departure searching for mistakes or assigning blame. They replay it searching for meaning. They understand now that every meaningful connection leaves behind lessons that continue unfolding long after two people stop walking the same path. Your departure became one of those lessons. It taught them that silence can carry love just as deeply as words. That distance does not always erase emotional truth, and that the heart often understands what the mind refuses to accept until the right moment arrives. They can feel themselves changing because of this realization. Every reflection brings greater clarity. Every memory uncovers another hidden layer they had never noticed before. They no longer see your decision to walk away as the end of a story. They see it as the beginning of an understanding that neither of you could have reached until time, growth, and truth finally came together. And now that they have begun seeing your journey through this new perspective, they know they can never return to the simple explanations they once believed, because they have discovered that the deepest truths are rarely found in what people say. They are found in what the heart quietly carries long after the words have disappeared. As your soulmate continues reflecting on everything they have recently discovered, they realize that the hardest part is no longer understanding why you walked away. The hardest part is accepting how different the truth is from the story they carried for so long. Listen carefully, because this realization has taken them somewhere they never expected to go. For years, they believed certainty protected them. Having an explanation, even if it was incomplete, felt easier than admitting there were questions they could never answer. But now that certainty has quietly disappeared, replaced by something much more powerful, humility, they have begun recognizing that the heart can sometimes become so attached to one version of events that it forgets there may be another side waiting to be understood. That realization has humbled them in ways they never imagined. Instead of defending the conclusions they once reached, they have started examining the beliefs that shaped those conclusions in the first place. They ask themselves why they were so quick to assume they understood your silence. Why did they never stop to consider that your departure might have carried reasons far beyond what anyone could see? Those questions have become part of their everyday thoughts, not because they enjoy dwelling on the past, but because they genuinely want to understand it with greater honesty than ever before. As these reflections deepen, they begin noticing something even more surprising. Their memories no longer appear in isolated pieces. Instead, they flow together like chapters of a story that finally makes sense when read from beginning to end. They remember moments when you seemed emotionally present but quietly burdened, times when your words sounded hopeful, while your expression carried a sadness that never fully matched them. They recall occasions when you hesitated before speaking, almost as though there were thoughts you wanted to share but couldn't find the right way to express. At the time, those moments passed unnoticed because life moved too quickly. Now, however, they seem impossible to ignore. It feels as though every overlooked detail has returned with a purpose, gently asking them to see what they could not recognize before. They are beginning to understand that people rarely reveal their deepest struggles all at once. More often, those struggles appear through tiny moments, subtle changes and quiet silences that only make sense when viewed with patience instead of assumption. This new awareness has also transformed the way they think about emotional strength. In the past, they believed strength meant holding everything together, finding immediate answers, and moving forward without looking back. Today, they see strength differently. They understand that true strength sometimes means admitting you misunderstood someone. It means having the courage to question your own perspective instead of protecting it. It means accepting that another person's choices may have been shaped by battles you were never invited to witness. That realization has softened something deep within them. The judgment they once carried has gradually been replaced by compassion. They no longer feel the need to label every unanswered question as rejection or every moment of distance as a lack of care. Instead, they have learned that the human heart often carries responsibilities, fears, and sacrifices that remain invisible even to those standing closest. This lesson has not only changed how they see your journey, it has changed how they approach every meaningful relationship in their life. Perhaps the greatest transformation of all is happening within their own heart. They are no longer searching for someone to blame, because blame no longer feels important. What matters now is understanding. What matters now is recognizing that every meaningful connection has moments that can only be understood after enough time has passed for wisdom to replace emotion. They realize they once viewed your departure as the final chapter of your story together, when in reality it became the beginning of their greatest lesson. Every unanswered question pushed them toward deeper reflection. Every moment of uncertainty taught them patience. Every hidden truth prepared them to become someone capable of seeing beyond appearances. They now understand that growth rarely comes through comfort alone. Sometimes it arrives disguised as confusion, silence, or unexpected endings that only reveal their purpose much later. Looking back, they can see how this entire experience quietly reshaped their character without them even noticing. It taught them to listen more carefully, to judge less quickly, and to remain open to truths that may not reveal themselves immediately. Now, when they think about you, they no longer focus only on the moment you walked away. Instead, they think about everything that remained unspoken, everything they failed to notice, and everything they have learned because of that silence. Rather than feeling trapped by regret, they feel guided by wisdom. They understand that the past cannot be rewritten, but its meaning can be transformed. And that transformation has become one of the most valuable gifts they have ever received. They are no longer trying to return to the person they were before this revelation, because they know that person understood only part of the story. The person they are becoming now understands something much deeper, that genuine connections are not defined by the moments people lose sight of each other, but by the truths they discover when they finally choose to look beyond assumptions and allow compassion to reveal what the heart had been waiting to understand all along as your soulmate continues moving through this season of understanding. They begin noticing that the truth has quietly changed the direction of their future. Listen carefully, because this is no longer about looking backward. It is about discovering who they are becoming because of everything they have finally understood. There was a time when they believed every important decision should be based on certainty alone. They waited for perfect answers, perfect timing, and perfect circumstances before allowing themselves to trust what they felt. But life has slowly taught them that certainty is often an illusion. The more they searched for complete control over every outcome, the farther they drifted from the quiet wisdom their own heart had been offering all along. Now they realize that understanding your reason for walking away has done something unexpected. It has shown them that real growth begins when people stop demanding perfect explanations and start accepting honest truths. They can feel this change unfolding within them every single day. Instead of rushing toward conclusions, they have become comfortable sitting with reflection. Instead of reacting from old wounds, they have started responding from a place of greater emotional maturity. This shift has not happened overnight. It has been built one quiet realization at a time, until they eventually reached the point where pretending nothing had changed became impossible. Every lesson they have learned has gently challenged the person they used to be. They are beginning to understand that holding on to outdated beliefs simply because they once felt safe only keeps the heart trapped in yesterday. They no longer want to live according to fears that no longer reflect the truth they have discovered. Something much stronger is guiding them now. It is not urgency. It is not guilt. It is a calm sense of clarity that grows every time they choose honesty over assumption. They have also started noticing how differently they approach the people around them. Before, they often believed every action required an immediate explanation. Now they understand that some of life's deepest realities cannot be seen at first glance. Every person carries private struggles, silent prayers, invisible disappointments, and personal battles that remain hidden behind ordinary conversations. This awareness has made them slower to judge and quicker to understand. They have learned that kindness often begins where certainty ends. That lesson has become one of the greatest gifts this entire experience has given them. As they continue reflecting, they find themselves imagining two very different versions of the future. In one, they continue living according to the old story they once believed, protecting themselves behind assumptions that no longer feel true. It appears familiar, but it also feels empty because they know it is built upon an incomplete understanding. In the other future, they allow this new wisdom to shape every choice they make. The path feels uncertain because it requires vulnerability, honesty, and the willingness to trust what they have learned. Yet despite the unknowns, it brings a sense of peace they cannot ignore. For the first time, they understand that peace is not created by avoiding difficult truths. Peace is created by embracing them, even when they ask us to become someone different than we were before. Every passing day strengthens this conviction inside them. They no longer measure progress by how quickly they can leave the past behind. Instead, they measure it by how deeply they have allowed the past to teach them. That difference has transformed everything. They realize that your decision to walk away did not simply leave behind memories. It left behind lessons that continue shaping the person they are becoming today. They now see that every season of silence carried hidden opportunities for growth. Every unanswered question carried the invitation to become wiser. And every misunderstanding carried the possibility of deeper compassion once the truth finally came to light. Because of this, they are no longer afraid of change. They welcome it. They understand that transformation is often uncomfortable because it asks people to release versions of themselves that no longer belong to their future. Your soulmate feels that release happening now. They are letting go of old assumptions, old fears, and old explanations that once seemed permanent. In their place, something far more meaningful has begun taking root. It is a quiet confidence built upon truth instead of certainty, understanding instead of judgment, and compassion instead of pride. They know this journey has permanently changed them, and although they cannot predict exactly what tomorrow will bring, they are certain of one thing: they can no longer continue living as though they never discovered the real reason you walked away. That truth has become part of who they are now, quietly guiding every step they take toward a future shaped not by misunderstanding, but by wisdom that their heart worked so hard to find. As your soulmate reaches the end of this unexpected journey of understanding, they realize that the greatest discovery was never simply learning the real reason you walked away. Listen carefully, because this final realization has changed something much deeper than a memory. It has changed the way they understand love, growth, and the quiet ways life teaches the heart. For so long, they believed your departure was the final chapter of your story together. They assumed that once you disappeared, all that remained was acceptance and moving forward. But now they see that what ended on the outside continued growing on the inside. Time did not erase this connection. Instead, it slowly uncovered lessons that neither of you could have recognized while you were standing in the middle of the storm. They understand now that some answers cannot arrive until people have lived enough life to recognize their value. Looking back, they no longer see your decision as something that happened against them. They see it as something that quietly shaped them. Every season of silence forced them to become more patient. Every unanswered question taught them to seek understanding instead of easy explanations. Every moment they spent believing they knew the whole story prepared them for the humility of discovering that there was always another side waiting to be seen. That realization has become one of the most meaningful experiences of their life. It has reminded them that genuine wisdom is not measured by how many answers someone possesses, but by how willing they are to continue learning even after they think they understand everything. They now recognize that your journey carried burdens they never witnessed, decisions they never had to make, and emotions that remained hidden behind quiet strength. Instead of regretting what they could not change, they have begun appreciating everything this experience has taught them. They understand that compassion often grows from the places where certainty once lived. The more they reflect, the more they realize that your absence quietly transformed the person they were becoming. It encouraged them to listen more carefully, to judge less quickly, and to recognize that every human heart carries chapters invisible to everyone else. Those lessons have reached far beyond this connection. They now approach every meaningful relationship with greater patience because they know appearances rarely reveal the complete story. They have learned that people often smile while carrying invisible struggles, remain silent while protecting someone they care about, and make difficult choices without expecting anyone to understand them. This awareness has changed not only how they remember you, but also how they move through life itself. There is another truth that has become impossible for them to ignore. They no longer believe that meaningful connections are measured only by how long two people remain together. Instead, they believe they are measured by how deeply they continue changing each other, even during seasons of separation. Your presence left lessons that remained alive long after your footsteps faded from view. Those lessons became part of their character. They became part of the way they think, the way they love, and the way they understand the people who enter their life. That is why this realization feels so significant. It is no longer about correcting an old misunderstanding. It is about recognizing that every chapter, even the painful ones, can become a source of wisdom when viewed through honest reflection. They no longer carry the need to rewrite the past because they have discovered that the past has already fulfilled its purpose. It shaped them into someone capable of seeing with greater clarity than ever before. Every experience, every unanswered question, every quiet season of waiting has led them to this moment of understanding. And now they know something they never knew before. You did not simply walk away and disappear from their story. You left behind a lesson that continued speaking long after the silence began. That lesson has become part of who they are, reminding them that truth always arrives in its perfect season. Compassion is stronger than assumption, and genuine connections are never defined by a single moment of goodbye. They are defined by the lasting transformation they leave within the heart. Your soulmate understands that now with a depth they never thought possible, and because of that understanding, they can never again return to the person they were before the truth finally revealed itself. From this moment forward, they carry not only a new understanding of why you walked away, but also a new understanding of themselves. That may be the greatest gift hidden within this entire journey. Because sometimes the answers we spend years searching for are not meant to change the past. They are meant to prepare our hearts for the future with more wisdom, more compassion, and more love than we ever believed we could hold.